Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, we're going to be continuing our AFL 2023 3-game match reviews for the 2023 AFL season. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the middle three games from round 7, which were the Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn, Melbourne versus North Melbourne and West Coast versus Carlton. Alright, so the Doggies and the Hawks played out an interesting encounter yesterday at Marvel Stadium in Marcus Bontempelli's 200th game for the Western Bulldogs. They prevailed by 29 points in the end. Western Bulldogs 14, 10, 94, Hawthorn 9, 11, 65. And in the end, Western Bulldogs got over the line after a very good fight from Hawthorn. And this does just question because the Dogs are a great one of the best sides, well, not one of the best sides in the comp, but they are a very good side in this competition, especially in the midfield. That's where they do really top out, is in the midfield, and Hawthorn did beat them in the midfield. So Hawthorn, do they have a little something brewing this year? Maybe avoiding the wooden spoon would be to their delight. They didn't win this game, but still showing signs when you are a bottom side can still be so important, and they hung around in this game for most of it and did have some real chances to put some pressure on the Dogs. But yeah, they had great first half. They won the first half pretty comfortably in the end. And yeah, 3 goals apiece at quarter time, 7 goals apiece at half time. Just the behind separating the sides there. And then in the third quarter, 3 goals to none. That's where the Western Bulldogs get away. And then, yeah, in the last quarter, it's 4 goals to 2. So they do finish them off pretty well. But Hawthorn still actually played really well, did some real fight, put up a great effort, I thought. In this one, 118 fantasy for Daniel, 112 for Hardwick, 108 for Reeves, 103 for Warple, 100 for Day. Goals behinds, 4 goals, 3 for Norton. He was important. 3 goals for Bruce. Very, very good was Luke Bruce. He was really important as well in this game. For the Hawks, he kept him in it, really. 2 goals for Newcomb, 2 goals for Hugo Hagen, 2 goals for Lobb, and 1 goal for Lewis, which wasn't his best day in front of the stick, still recovering probably from that injury. They did rush him back a little bit. But his presence was still definitely felt, and he's just such a big inclusion. So you definitely can't underestimate Mitch Lewis. He is so important in that Hawks side. 30 disposal for Day, 27 for Hardwick, and Daniel 26 for McRae, Nash, and Sicily. Marks 12 for Hardwick, 11 for Baker. Lewis, again, the little stuff that Lewis does, really important. Might not have gotten a heap of the footy, even though he actually got 16 touches. But 11 marks, massive stuff for Lewis, and still got plenty of scores as well. Tackles 7 for Daniel and McRae, 6 for Bontempelli, Treloar and Reeves. Hit-outs 43 for Reeves, 30 for English, 9 for Ramsden, 6 for Lobb, 1 for Norton. Team stats now where they went inside 50 11 more times, did the Western Bulldogs. So they won that area pretty comfortably in the end. Let's see what else we've got. Clearances, though, 36 to 38 in favour of Hawthorn, 8 to 12 centre clearances, and 37 to 52 hit-outs as well in favour of Hawthorn, with Reeves and Ramsden getting the job done for the Hawks. So definitely out of that centre, though, the Hawks are a young team, and if they can do this against a very good Dogs midfield at the moment with the likes of Bontempelli, Smith, Treloar in there, they were only missing Liberatore, but with their young midfield, it does look to be showing a few nice signs for them, the Hawks. So despite losing this game, more marks, inside 15 marks as well for the Hawthorn. But despite losing this game, it was still a very good effort from the Hawks, and seeing improvement and effort in these younger sides, that this was still a decent performance for the Hawks. They lost it late, and the Dogs ran away with it. But both sides did show some pretty decent signs in this one. Now to the first of 2 Saturday night games. First one at the MCG, Melbourne, 139 defeated North Melbourne 49, 22-7 Melbourne. 139 to North Melbourne 7-7, 49. Melbourne won by 90. Could have been a lot more. North Melbourne, we know they've conceded and given up some really big scores in the last few weeks. You wind back the clock to that Brisbane game in Gather Round. They gave up 152. Last week they were better, only gave up about 97, but this week giving up 139. They do have defensive problems and do obviously have some scoring issues as well, only getting 49 on the board. Three of those goals coming in the final quarter as well. And the Demons kicked 8 goals in the first quarter to 1, and the game was over at quarter time. I don't think a lot of people expected North to show up or fight in this game. The margin was going to be interesting to see, though. But yeah, this was just an absolute domination. You could just see the worm just goes up and up and up, and North kick a few late goals, but it's not too much. The only thing they really did it late in the game was get that margin pegged back under 100 points. Big win, though, for the Ds. We'll actually go back here. Very consistent quarters. 8 goals in the first, 5 in the second, only 3 in the third, though, for them. That's where North actually played a little bit better, and then 6 were in the last. So, AFL Fantasy, 142 Fantasy for Petrarca, 136 for Hall, 126 for Sheasel. What a gun he is. 125 for Oliver. Goals behind, 4 goals for Fritsch, 3 for Zerha, 3 for Petrarca, Pickett, Chandler, 2 goals for Larkin, Grundy. Disposals, 37 for Oliver, 35 for Petrarca, who both had massive nights. 30 for Sheasel and Hull, 29 for Brayshaw, 27 for Cunnington and Shields. Marks, 12 for Hull, 11 for Sheasel, 10 for Core and Simpkin. Tackles, 6 for Shields, 5 for Pickett and McDonald. Hit-outs, 27 for Grundy, 21 for Gawn, 19 for Goldstein, 5 for Coleman Jones, 1 for Logue. Couple of little injuries as well for North last night, Comben and Coleman Jones. Way more disposals Melbourne had, 419 to 355. Way more handballs is what they did, but just getting those chains where North just could not defend them. They went inside 50, 13 more times as well. They had way better disposal efficiency, 80%. That's great to see there that you can use the ball that well. What else have we got? Efficiency inside 50, 28% for North. They'd be disappointed. 14 shots from 50 on inside 50s. The Ds were way better, but 28%. Like, they still went inside 50 a fair amount of times, but it was bombed in long. That Melbourne defence will pick you off, and North just did not have a way around that. They won stoppage clearances. North won centre clearances, but again, you can just bomb it in, and Melbourne can get that play and be so dangerous back on the counter. North had way more marks, but marks inside 50, 16 to 9 in favour of Melbourne, 14 to 9 contested marks. But again, though, the thing that you got to do is you've got to 15 to 6 tackles inside 50. You've got to make sure that you're not just banging it in long to Melbourne's defence, because that's just easy free pickings for them. And by the looks of the score, and North Melbourne definitely did do that. And it's a big win for the Ds. They win by 90, and it's a nice little percentage booster for them. And now to the second Saturday night game at Optus Stadium between West Coast and Carlton. And this one was not much better. West Coast 6-8-44. Carlton 23-14, 152. That's a big score, 152, 23 goals, 14. And it was thanks to their big men, Mackay and Curnow, that really got them over the line. Here, we'll wait for this timeline to pop up and I'll have to refresh it. Alright, there we go. Timeline is here and it was just a domination. West Coast hung in there for a little bit, but just didn't get any score whatsoever. They just easy pickings for Carlton in their defence again, and we know West Coast is so undermanned and all that, but you got to try and do better than that. I mean, look, if you did alright against Port Adelaide last week, lost by 40 at their home venue, losing to Carlton by 108 is definitely a big concern for their year, and after we look like they had a few little signs showing that they're actually getting a little bit better in their past few games, Carlton just put them away and really sent them back to what they've where they've been in the last few years and matches, which is definitely in the disappointment land for West Coast. Carlton just absolutely blew them away again, had very consistent quarters, 5 goals in the first, then 4 in the second, 5 in the third, and then 9 in the final term. And they were inaccurate as well. 23 goals, 14 could have easily kicked a lot straighter and put more pain on and had an even bigger win. Nick Newman, 164 fantasy, 151 for Charlie Curnow, including 9 goals, 3, which was probably one of the best performances on the ground. 137 fantasy for Chera, 129 fantasy for Akers, 128 for Walsh, 124 for Hewitt, 116 for Cripps, 108 for Kelly, 107 for Kemp. So that's only one Eagles player inside the top 100 in fantasy, inside the top players, or over 100 fantasy. 9 goals for Curnow, 3 for Silvani, 2 goals for O'Neill and Allen, 2 goals for Mackay as well. But yeah, just Carlton, they had so many players joining the fun. Durden, Newman, Honey, Kennedy, Hollins, Kemp, Chera, Cripps, Akers, Fisher, 0 goals, 3. So you can see a couple of players which did have a few little chances as well. 34 disposals for Akers and Newman, 33 for Cripps, 32 for Hewitt, 30 for Walsh and Chera. Marks now 14 for Curnow and Newman, 13 for Kemp, 10 for Weavering and Akers. Tackles 10 for Walsh, 8 for Kelly, Chera, Cripps, Hewitt. Hit out 35 for Pitnet, 21 for Williams, 11 for Young, 7 for Darling, 3 for Waterman and Silvani, 2 for Rotham, 1 for Barras and Mackay. Lots of players getting in on the ruck there. Way more footy. In all, 285 disposals in a game for West Coast would be pretty disappointing. Carlton smashed them in kicks and handballs and also in inside 50s. West Coast only went inside 50 34 times. and only had a 44% efficiency inside 50. Hit outs, clearances are in favour of Carlton as well. 11-9 centre in favour of West Coast, but again, Carlton, if you bombed it into their defence on this night, they'll punish you, and they were happy to take a few risks as well. The Blues had way more uncontested footy, probably showing that it was a little too easy for them at times. Way more marks inside 54-29. That's just that you shouldn't be able to concede 29 marks inside 50 in a game. That just goes to show a little bit of lousy defensive efforts there. Carlton led for the whole game, and yeah, definitely after halftime, it did not look like the Eagles were ever going to touch them. This is a great performance from the Blues, and they are showing, after a few little poor weeks, they're showing they're back to their best. Alright, so now to Sunday's footy action, and this is where we find three pretty big games. If you look at ladder position, Essendon 7th versus Geelong 10th, that's a big game in the MCG. Richmond 16th, Gold Coast 13th, massive game at Marvel, and Richmond do need to end their Marvel Stadium. Bit of a hoodoo they've got there. They need to, because at the moment things are not looking that great for them. And Gold Coast, things aren't looking the best for them either. So I feel like the winner here and the loser's got some big consequences from this game, especially if it's Richmond. And Adelaide and Collingwood in what could be one of the games of the round will conclude round number 7. Alright, so the ladder now on Adelaide and Collingwood, that game is a big one. Because, if Collingwood win, they'll be able to go clear top. And if Adelaide win, they'll be able to join this big pack of 20 pointers. Essendon, if they beat Geelong, they'll also join the big pack of 20 pointers. However, if Geelong win, they should be out, and yes, will get inside the top 8. And then here we go down to the lower end of the spectrum. Here is the rest of the ladder. But yes, there is some massive games happening on this Sunday of footy, which really are going to be important to how that ladder shapes up, especially from around that, from around 4th, or even, really 1st to about 10th, really. I feel like today's going to be very important for. But yes, here's the rest of what we've seen so far. Port Adelaide over Saints, Brisbane over Dockers, GWS over Sydney, and then in this one, Dogs over Hawks, D's over Kangas, and West Coast over Carlton. Carlton over West Coast. Thank you guys. It was so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. So then you guys never miss another video on the channel. Then you guys will smile and bye everyone. Flame Footy out.